Well, it is a very interesting debate. Let's just say Donald Trump, who currently is the massive favorite to be the Republican nominee, let's say he ends up as the nominee. Who does he choose as his VP? We've got the current odds right here. I'm going to react to this and then I'm going to give kind of the strategy that I think Trump is going to take because there's really two different paths when it comes to these VPs, and it comes down to which path he wants to choose, especially appealing to independent voters. So you can see Vivek Ramaswamy currently still in the race to try and be the nominee for the Republicans. It's not like those are great odds, but technically he is the current favorite to be the VP for Donald Trump. A few different things I want to discuss when it comes to my opinions of Vivek Ramaswamy. Now, I originally did my first video on Vivek almost a year ago before it was even polling because I saw him and I said, listen, this dude's really smart. He's going to make inroads. I was kind of just disappointed with his first three debate performances. The fourth debate was really impressive, but when it comes to Vivek, the issue you have if you are Trump and you're choosing him for VP, it's almost like a repeat. Like the idea of getting a VP is to bring in independent voters, have a little different side of your ticket. Vivek is basically Trump 2.0, only smarter. So would that really work? I think it could work. But overall, it's like when it comes to a political strategy point of view, I could see Trump not choosing Vivek. There's also been speculation that Vivek might not even want to be VP. Now, I don't know really where that comes from. Normally, you get a lot of VPs that, 4 years later end up being the nominee for their party. Vivek could also do that. Obviously, Trump was a different case coming out of nowhere in 2016. And Vivek is really anti-establishment like Trump. But the question is, would Vivek basically being a Trump 2.0 really be a good political strategy when you have two women there, Elise Stefanik and also Kristi Noem, who would kind of be the opposite of that? They're both big-time Trump supporters. They're both younger ladies, younger political women. Noem is actually the governor of South Carolina. Stefanik is a representative in New York. I've studied both of them here recently, and I would lean slightly if I was picking and I was Donald Trump towards Stefanik. I don't know what he's going to do, but you can see both of them are sitting plus 800, and choosing one of them would be more like you're trying to balance the ticket. Trump went with Pence back in 2016 to help with the evangelicals, to help with the base conservatives. In 2024, I think it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be more based off of a lot of the independents. Trump already has a vast majority of the Republican base, and I do think even the establishment Republicans who right now are against Trump will obviously fall in line if he ends up being the nominee in 2024. Speaking of establishment Republicans, you do have Nikki Haley there, and guys, this is not like I took this from a month ago. This was yesterday. I screenshotted this. I don't know how Nikki Haley is fourth based off of the stuff that's been coming out. Nikki Haley is not going to be Donald Trump's running mate. I would be shocked unless there's like a 180 that happens. It seems extremely unlikely at this point based on her position within the Republican Party, based on all of her establishment donors. They seemingly have left DeSantis and gone to Nikki Haley because they don't like Trump because he's unpredictable. I don't see Nikki Haley beating Trump outside of something happening in terms of Trump's legal situation, and I don't see Trump choosing her. Originally, I thought maybe there was a slight chance it would happen. It's kind of interesting you have Tim Scott on there as well. There's almost zero chance if I'm Trump, I'm picking Tim Scott, just because lack of charisma. I mean, you're better off going with Vivek there. I guess the question is, would Vivek accept a VP spot? I think he would, man. I really think he would. Now, right now, he'll say no, because that would be a poor reflection on how his campaign is doing, right? He's trying to keep the public persona of, oh, I'm going to be the nominee, and that's exactly what he should be doing. He's campaigning in Iowa, but if it came down to it and Vivek drops out, before Super Tuesday in early March, would he be the VP if Trump asked him? I think he would. The two ladies, I think, also would accept. Obviously, I don't think the fit is there with Nikki Haley based on the recent stuff that's been going on, based on all the donors going to her over DeSantis, and she's like the chief competition to Trump at this point. And the question is, do the donors force DeSantis to drop out of the race, maybe even after 2 or 3 states to try and condense that anti-Trump vote to Nikki Haley only and really try and get her delegates going. I don't think it's going to matter. Trump is just up by so much. The issue that a lot of these people that are anti-Trump within the Republican Party are going to deal with, Trump is already over 50%, so it doesn't matter. You could condense the vote by telling Christie to drop out and DeSantis to drop out, and Trump would still be around. He would actually get a little bit more. He'd be around 60%, so he'd still be in the lead at that point. And then you do have Tucker Carlson, and this is another one that's very interesting. Tucker Carlson is making a lot of political moves behind the scenes that suggest he might be an option for Trump, but it's kind of like a similar dilemma to Vivek, where we all know Tucker is right wing. Is he really going to draw in anyone extra that Trump wouldn't draw in himself? That's the question you have to ask yourself when it comes to a VP. I mean, I don't think Pence did a great job, although there are a lot of people that say, well, Trump won the Rust Belt in 2016 in part to Pence. I don't think there's really any way you can scale that, when it comes to a VP and how effective they are. I do think one of the things nobody thinks about, and this is coming back to bite the Democrats chose Kamala Harris when it was very clear and obvious the only reason that woman was chosen was to fill a quota. I mean, you look at the Democratic Party now, they are obsessed with diversity. Everyone has to be a minority, preferably a woman, and they go with an old white dude in Joe Biden, which is the exact thing they're against. They were kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. They had to find someone that was a female, that was a minority, and it was Kamala Harris. And the issue with that, in putting up an unqualified person, is the fact that Biden is ridiculously old. Now he has a terrible approval rating, and now the Democrats are virtually screwed. Because if you're the Democrats and you do, like, the public persona around the idea of removing Biden, or Biden coming out and saying, at this point, I've served my country for 4 years, I just don't think I'm there mentally, I'm sorry, I want to hand it off, and then bolstering Gavin Newsom, a white male, over the current VP, who is a minority woman, it would be a terrible look. So that's like the idea to where the VP should be the most qualified person to where if Trump, let's say he wins in 2024, can't serve, yes, Vivek would be perfectly fine being the president, in my opinion. So you would want someone, but it's like nobody thinks like that. No one thinks like, oh, what if Trump or Biden are unfit and they can't serve, or something happens to where the vice president has to become the president. That's part of the problem with the Democrats and their situation surrounding Kamala Harris. And it's funny, it's like, well, what if they really want to remove Biden? I mean, I'm not saying Biden can't win in 2024. There's a long way to go. Right now, his approval rating is terrible, but it's becoming more and more obvious it's going to be very hard for him to win. And I think if the Democrats were in a different situation with a different VP, there could have already been moves made behind the scenes, but Kamala Harris is really handcuffing them. Because if you are the Democrats, you would much rather have Biden run than Kamala Harris at this point, because Biden has the incumbent advantage still. Kamala Harris really wouldn't have that. Nobody really knows her leadership style. And already, even though, 9 times out of 10, the president is going to be more disliked than the vice president, especially with the numbers that are coming out with Biden, where it's a record low approval rating, Kamala Harris is actually even more disliked or on the same level, even as the VP, where she's just in the background. So that's the big problem. But when it comes to Tucker Carlson, it would certainly make a ton of headlines. A lot of people, on the right would love Tucker Carlson. It would be Carlson and Trump. Or I'm guessing the ticket would be Vivek and Trump. But you can just kind of see the debate that Trump's going to have with his political strategists. It's Vivek and Tucker Carlson, who are kind of like, not the same as Trump exactly, but kind of a similar sphere. Or you go with maybe a more moderate approach, try and lure in some more women voters by going with Stefanik or Noem when it comes to that. And then Sarah Huckabee Sanders, it's not happening. Tim Scott, it's not happening. Ben Carson making an appearance on this list, it's not happening. Carrie Lake all the way down plus 4,000. There was definitely some big stuff with Carrie Lake about a year ago, possibly a Trump-Lake ticket. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to comment on the voter fraud stuff, but the idea is you want to balance the ticket. Carrie Lake is another example of like a Trump 2.0. So, if you're choosing Carrie Lake, why not just choose Vivek or Tucker Carlson? They're far better options, in my opinion, when it comes to that. And then I did see this I wanted to go over. This is probably pretty accurate in terms of the current odds to be president. You can see Trump right around 37% chance, Biden 10 points below him at 27% chance, Nikki Haley at around a 10% chance. That would very likely include a legal problem with Trump. Gavin Newsom falling all the way back to 6% chance. Yeah, I think the issue for the Democrats, they realize it would be such a horrible look if they told Biden, time to go, old man, and they propped up a white dude in front of Kamala Harris, even though that's exactly what they should do, by the way. I'm just saying this is how they think. They're obsessed with race and sex, and that's why they can't prop up a white dude in front of Kamala Harris, and they're kind of stuck with Biden at this point. And they're going to go with the whole Trump being Hitler narrative. It's a threat to democracy. He's going to start World War III for the 50th time. That's going to be their play. Michelle Obama, it just seems way too, and I mean, like you have to understand, they've already been in the White House for 8 years. Do they having another dynasty like that? I don't see that. DeSantis, he needs a life raft. Yeah, he's done. DeSantis sitting at around a 2%. Vivek, I think Vivek might have the best value here when you look at him plus 5,500. The idea is Trump wouldn't be able to run. Trump endorses Vivek. Vivek gets all the MAGA vote. And he puts up a really good fight against Nikki Haley, and he could possibly win because that's how smart Vivek is. I think he's the best value there. I'm not saying it's likely. It would require Trump to somehow be out of the race. Kamala Harris, even below Newsom and Michelle Obama. Wow. Dean Phillips, Chris Christie, it's just not going to happen for either of them. And then how about this? And you can see the approval rating. I'm not going to say, America right now, in this day and age with social media, we're a lot more divisive, but still, Biden sitting negative 17, Trump was minus 12 with way more negative media. Obama was even, Carter was plus 10, Clinton plus 11, Bush plus 12, Nixon plus 14. I do think if we were in the 80s or the 90s, Biden would certainly not be minus 17. I don't think Trump would have been minus 12. It is a more polarizing time, but it's interesting to see the comparison. That's why I would say, you look at all those presidents, I really wouldn't compare presidents from the 70s and 80s when there was no social media, when a lot of people really didn't have a great grasp on what was going on with the U.S. economy, to where we are today. The only comparison I think you can make is between Obama, Trump, and Biden. Obama sitting at even. I think if this was the 80s or the 90s, Obama would probably be plus 10 or 11. Trump would probably be a lot better, and Biden would be a lot better. But look at Biden and Trump. A 6-point difference. It really is crazy. Who would have thought it, considering all of the negative press that Trump got? Biden is still significantly worse. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.